Hey, what's up YouTube? This is Tom from Cutting Edge Training. I just wanted to make a quick video here in response to a video blog post that came across the other day titled Airsoft is Not Training. And what I want to say from the onset is my position in making this video is not as a criticism or an indictment on that particular video. What I do believe is that there were some things that came out of that video that I think need a greater level of explanation and exploration so that we do understand what the potential hazards are with regards to approaching training with some misunderstanding. So having said that, one of the things that kind of came out of the video, just even in the title, Airsoft is not training, one of the things that came out, the blog poster commented and stated that, you know, if you're going into airsoft games believing that they're training, that could lead to a training scar down the line. And there's a part of me that agrees with that. I think that if we approach anything, we can take even lessons from the competition shooting world, where it is somewhat of a game, and if we try to take that and apply it across the board to a combative application without addressing some other things along the way, I think we could run into some training scars. The big takeaway point for me was I think that there could be a misunderstanding or a misrepresentation in believing that it is the airsoft that is causing the training scars. So my intention really with this video is to kind of clear up this idea of what facilitates or what causes training scars to us who engage in training. So with that, what I'm going to say is that it has been my experience. I come from a law enforcement background. I currently train law enforcement and military. I have not seen personally where the modality, airsoft, simunitions, red gun to blue guns, have themselves been the primary catalyst for the creation of a training scar. What more often than not is the issue is there is clearly a misunderstanding about what the real world users in needs are. Therefore, the training was built on some faulty assumptions, and the modality simply was a silent partner in the development of these training scars. But it wasn't from the fact that I used airsoft versus using simunition that actually led to the training scar. So what I want to point out is that, you know, when we go into training, there are a couple things that we really have to take into consideration first. One, we need to understand that all training is fake. I know that that's hard for some of us to accept, but all training is fake. I know there are some guys out there that say, you know, I'd rather use simunitions versus airsoft because it's closer to my real weapon and you know what, I get all of that. What I'm gonna say though, regardless, it's still fake. It's training. By nature it has to be. If training approximates the actual consequences and the level of potential lethality that real combat does, then what happens is the margin for error and the room to train frequently, to ingrain skills and learn and make the mistakes so that you do learn from them, those windows get very, very small because there's too high a price. So for that reason, training is not actual combat. Our job as trainers, our job as people who attend training, is to address what are my real world in needs, and then how do I bring this fake training as close to what I really need as possible. And that's really the goal of good training. Good training is going to more closely approximate what you're going to need for real than bad training. So it is poor training that I think that is the catalyst, if you will, for for training scars. So with that having been said, what happens when we don't address those end needs well, then we get some faulty assumptions. And because all training is fake, all training is based on some assumptions. Some training assumptions are better than other training assumptions. So instead of saying, well, it's Airsoft's fault or it is Simunition's fault, they're really not the issue. They're simply tools in the game, and it is these faulty assumptions that lead to bad training. And unfortunately, I think some of our technology and some modalities get a bad rap. I have been involved as a student in some training evolutions where Simunitions was used. I think Simunitions is a great training modality. I think it's a great technology. I use it myself, have used it myself, so I'm very familiar with it. But I have been a student in some classes where Airsoft was where Simunitions was utilized, and because the assumptions were poor, the direction and goal of training was skewed, and as a result, the technology was either misused or wasn't used to its fullest capabilities, and I think that training scars were developed. Conversely, I've been in some training, there are a couple, sound trainers out there. I myself use a lot of Airsoft for drill based and force on force based training. I've been a part of some, really great Airsoft based trainings where the training assumptions on the part of the instructor were so good that Airsoft accomplished exactly what it needed to accomplish in terms of developing or helping us develop a realistic understanding of what potentially could happen in combat, and then forging a skill set around that. So I have seen both ends of the spectrum, with great technology like Simunitions, but poor training assumptions, training scars. Great training assumptions, and I think Airsoft is a great training modality, technology. Some would argue that it's less, real than some other things, but because the assumptions going into training were so good and the training program was developed so well, the Airsoft really fit nicely and it did exactly what it was intended to do. So my point in making this video was really to get us to really look at and understand what is the catalyst for creating training scars, and it's really not based on the technology in and of itself, but there are some other factors that we must consider. Again, my position is not one of an indictment on this other video post. I think that he raised some good points, and I think that the big takeaway is videos like this, whether it's me or someone else, is hopefully what they do is get you folks that are watching to really think progressively and logically about your survival and your training and what you're doing. So guys, I really appreciate you giving me a chance to share this with you. I hope it helps, hope it makes some sense. Thanks for watching, take care, be safe, train hard.